Hey everybody, I'm Laura DiCarlo of Career Directors International. If you're currently thinking about starting or actively building a resume writing or career coaching business, I'm so glad you've joined us today. In this show, we share tools, strategy, and mindset tips that lead to your ultimate success without the stress. My guest today is Emily Kapit of Refresher Step LLC. Hi, Emily.
Hi,
You're
Laura.
going to be
Good to see you.
Hey, welcome, welcome. You're all going to be getting a chance to know Emily here shortly. We are currently streaming on CDI's Facebook page, YouTube channel, and LinkedIn page. But please, when you are commenting during the show, include your name so that I always know who it is. I'm not going to have you go hit the permission buttons and whatnot because it doesn't always work. So just make sure you give us your name. And if you don't know me yet, my goal is to become your not so secret superpower. At Career Directors International, we provide everything you need to love and excel at what you do so you can make a difference while earning an exceptional living as a career industry professional. Okay, so I had to be all fancy here, put our little caption up for a second while I'm still teasing you about Emily. So today I've got my guest, Emily Kapit here of Refresher Step LLC, and she's going to be chatting with me about startup and growth secrets from successfully self-employed resume writers and career coaches. Emily, before I finish my intro, I just got to say that you continue to impress me with what you accomplish. I remember when we worked together, gosh, way back, like 2015, 2016. I recall I think that was when you'd landed your first article in Mind, Body, Green, and you were so driven to go after more opportunities for that visibility and authority. But you had so much on your plate that time was an issue. And I can see if this resonates with you. I didn't help you find those opportunities or get those. That was all you. But I can remember ending one of our sessions where we had talked about, what could you offload to like a support team member or whatnot. And in that beginning period there, you were like, I love everything. And, we started with the whole, I don't want to let anything go. And so how are we going to move forward? And look where you are today. And I know you're going to tell us more about that. I can't wait for my guests today to learn more about Emily's journey, achievements, and tips. But first, 3 things I want to ask you to do as guests today. Let us know who you are in the chat. Again, include your name so that we know who we're talking to. Second, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. Emily and I are here today supporting you, so we want to be there for your questions. And third of all, if you like what you hear, please make sure that you like, follow, and or subscribe so that you don't miss out. We do this every week, Wednesday at 3:45 Eastern. All right, Emily, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Okay, let me tell you all a little bit more about Emily, besides the fact that she's been publishing articles for quite a long time now and building her visibility. She is a 3-time certified master resume writer, as well as an industry-leading career strategist and career resilience expert. She is also the founder of Refresher Step LLC, a career advisory firm with clients located nationally and internationally. She and her team collaborate extensively with clients on the Capitalize process. That's capitalized with a K, building on Kapit with her name, which I love. An innovative methodology that addresses all facets of one's career progression, internal and external, and resilience, including tactical career guidance, job search strategies, mock interviews, negotiation tactics, written professional assets, and more. Emily's insights and guidance have been published in Forbes, the Atlanta Journal Constitution, Medium, HuffPost, and Mind Body Green, among others. Emily is currently working on her first book, Sink or Swim, The Life-Changing Strategies for Career Resilience. That's due out sometime this year. You'll have to tell us when. And when I asked Emily about claims to fame, because you all know if you've been joining us here regularly that I always ask, about those. She had several, but the ones I wanted to share with you today as kind of teasers is she single-handedly grew her business, expanded the team, landed several lucrative contracts and relationships with recruiters and other coaches, It became a known entity in the industry without really spending money on marketing. We'd all like to be able to do that, right? She also achieved much of this while embracing parenthood, which included at one point a 2-month period where she ran the business from a hospital bed when she was ordered to full bed rest. So often as entrepreneurs, we end up sacrificing our time management and our life balance and our family. So I think Emily is the perfect person. If this is something that you are juggling, you're going to want to be here and hang on with us today. So let's see, we've got a comment in the chat. Muhammad wants to know how do you help ones aspiring in this profession? Well, hopefully you're going to get some good advice here today. I can also tell you in the interim to go over to careerdirectors.com and click on our free stuff. Check out all the resources we have there. Take the quiz to find out what your number one blocker is to success. And then go over to the join page and get on our wait list for the next time we open membership, because we share lots of great advice here, but there's core resources there. All right, so welcome, Mohammed. Anyone else who's here with us today, why don't you say hello to Emily in the chat and give us some virtual claps to get started. All right, Emily,
Yeah.
I'm ready to quiz you.
Great, let's do it.
So when did you start your business?
When did I start my business? I started back in September of 2008. That's when I started. But I was supposed to start in 2009. I started a year early.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, well, so you have to tell us a little bit more
I
about
will tell you why.
Yeah.
So preceding me starting the business, I had been working in both broadcast journalism in Manhattan, New York, which was originally what I wanted to do. And I noticed that the industry there was very toxic. And people were miserable despite having hit that pinnacle of success. So I decided to go where it would be maybe slightly less toxic. And I ended up in investment banking on the PR side, as well as doing recruiting. And so I was at Lehman Brothers for a few years during the good years, for those of you who remember when that was. And it was interesting because in that time, I saw a consistency. People were miserable. They didn't know why they were doing what they were doing, whether they were on the banking side or some other global operations side for the bank, and from whether they were executive C-suite down to those mid-levels, down to the analysts that we were recruiting off campus, they didn't really have a good reason for why they were going into that industry. And for a lot of people, once they got in, they didn't know how to get out. And so I realized back in 2007, I'm going to be part of the solution, not the problem. So I went back actually to grad school to get my master's degree, and I was set to graduate in 2009, which I did do, but start the business then. And for those of you who remember, Lehman filed for bankruptcy in September 2008. And all my old colleagues were calling me because I always kind of supported people with their resumes and their career stuff. That's just something I naturally did. And they were saying, we're screwed. Like, this is a bad situation. Help me now. So I was like, I guess I'll start this business a year early. So I ended up launching the business right as Lehman was filing. And there was obviously a downturn in the market. And interestingly, I was able to balance finishing my master's degree with starting the business and with a big move from Manhattan to Atlanta. And looking back, I'm like, well, good thing I didn't have kids then. That's
that would have been quite a juggle. So what did you go back to school for?
I actually went back to school for a master's in educational psychology, and that forms quite a bit of the academic backbone of the career advisory work that I do. And I specifically chose that because I really liked the study of procrastination and creativity and motivation. Obviously, it has its place in education, but it very much has its place in the corporate world as well. And I really liked being able to study that and apply that to the work that I do now.
And did you know, I know I'm jumping ahead in the order of questions we have because this is just naturally leading there, but did you know that this was going to be the type of business it would be with the resumes and the career services?
So it's interesting you asked that. Originally, I felt that I was going to fulfill a need with providing career advisory support for young professionals and mid-levels. And not as much on the document side and not as much for executives, which is interesting because now that's very much what I do. But at that time, I recognized that for people struggling in their careers, they had support if they were executives. There were executive coaches back then. And if they were on campus, either undergrads or grads, they had career centers. But anyone in between didn't have very much at that time. And I felt there's a need. And I wasn't planning to necessarily focus as much on the documents piece, but because I was naturally a writer and then having been a recruiter in-house for Lehman, I understood the positioning, I understood the psychology, I understood at that time what the formatting needs were. And this growing thing that was in LinkedIn, I got it then. And so very naturally, as I started the business, that there was a real recognition for that is a need as well. And because I understood that, I could very easily wind that in, combine that with the career advisory support. And then we just got to be known very quickly among clients in general and word of mouth of, wow, Emily, and it wasn't the team at the time, Emily combines it all. And so I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to be known as a resume writer, I'm really going to be known as a resume writer, which actually led me to start getting the certifications.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, I didn't have the connection that you were a recruiter with Lehman before, so that makes sense that it was a kind of a natural interest in the profession of career services. So okay, what were you doing there?
I was not on the banking side, although at this point now I really understand the banking side, having worked with a lot of bankers, a lot of people in finance. But no, I was for Lehman, I was supporting the global head of corporate communications and had a direct line to the C-suite. So I understood kind of various lines of business at Lehman. And then I also switched into doing recruiting on the IT side of Lehman Brothers. So I got quite a feel for a lot. And as an interesting side note, I actually got engaged at Lehman Brothers in a conference room with a PowerPoint presentation. Surprisingly, I said yes, but that's actually.
So he was a coworker?
No, he was not a coworker. We met years before, and he happened to work at Lehman and got me my initial interview at the corporate communications, which shows you the power of networking, obviously. But no, we never actually worked together. I knew him before.
Yes, I guess I should have said he was employed by the same firm and didn't just do some kind of voodoo magic to let him into the conference room to surprise you. Okay. That sounds like quite a price. That's the kind of proposal we'd see on Instagram today, you know?
That is. I always joked that The Office, the show, should have stolen that idea.
Yeah. I love it. And Amanda Rico has a question that I'm sure we're going to get to. Hi, Amanda. She says, thanks for sharing your insights, Emily. I have a question. What pitfalls did you run into when growing your company from a solo op, considering bringing on some staff, but concerned about issues starting out? So Amanda, we will make sure that we get to that one. I just wanted to acknowledge it and give Emily the heads up.
Sure.
Thank you for joining us. And Mohammed says, thanks for responding to my question. All right. So let's see. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your business? We've heard you talk a little bit about resumes and what I said in the introduction, but tell us more about what you do and who you serve.
Sure. So Refresher Step is a boutique career advisory business. So we combine the professional assets, which is resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, bios, 30, 60, 90s, anything written, in conjunction with the career advisory piece. So that's going to be anything from true career advisory, job search strategy, interview prep, networking tactics, negotiation work, any sort of obstacles that are popping up along the way in the job search. And we merge that all together. And so we work with clients, all levels, all sectors. I joke that we have worked with everyone from, aeronautical engineers down to zoologists and everyone in between. And it is true. And at this point, most of our clients are going to be mid-levels, executives, and C-suite. If we are getting younger professionals, which we're happy to work with, but if we're getting them, it's usually a referral from a previous client, whether it's an executive's child who's graduating or somebody's sibling or a neighbor. It's usually like a referral in that regard. But it's, I think what has long distinguished us is that we're helping people who are saying, I'm at a interesting intersection in my career, whatever it might be. I've hit a wall, I'm hitting a crisis, there's something happening, and I really need help. And so they come to us with that, like, oh my God, look in their eyes. And then we help them take that step back, really start to think through strategically, where are you? What are you looking for? You know, what's next for you? What are the obstacles? And then really plan it out. And we use that capitalized process to really capture so much and then help them position themselves.
I love it. I love when I saw that, when I was looking over, the information you sent me. I always love when people have like a riff on a word or an acronym as a meaning. So I was like, I had to make sure I was like, that's capitalized with a K, people.
Yes,
things like that are memorable. So
yeah, people like it.
Okay, so at what point in your business did you find CDI?
Pretty early on, and I'm very glad that I did. I'm very fortunate that I did find CDI. I was at a pivotal point in my career, and this is partially going to help answer Amanda's question, actually. I was at a point in my career where I had already brought on a few writers, and there had been some like stop and go, like people who were not the right fit, trying to figure out what that looked like. But I was at a point of, okay, I'm growing, I'm a known quantity, but now I need to grow in a much more strategic way. I need to figure out what to let go, per what you were saying, right? Yeah. Like at the very top, I love doing it all. I enjoy everything, but I wasn't going to be able to grow the business, streamline what I was doing, and show up as a parent, which is actually very important to me. And it felt like something needed to be redone, and CDI really helped with that. You were such a pivotal part in that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you worked with me one-on-one. Obviously, you're telling me it was pivotal. Is there anything else you'd add about the ROI of working with me? What did it help you achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember one of the key things that we were working on was obviously figuring out what I could let go of and helping to see that. And even though I'm a coach, and I've said this before, coaches should be coached as well, right? To understand what are our limitations, what are our blind spots, what are we not seeing, but it's right in front of us, and that we really need to talk through, and then be able to really work towards strategically to make that change with true support. And so I thought what you were so pivotal with was helping me to see, okay, no, you cannot do it all, and sleep. You need to recognize where you are able to let things go, how you're going to invest in this business that will help you to really grow beyond whatever where the limit that you're at, and what is that going to look like, and to talk that through and to structure that and to see that through to execution. So one of the biggest things I felt like CDI did, and especially Laura with the one-on-one coaching, was help me to identify how bundle packages would be a really good option for us, right? Because it would allow us to give our clients this option of, sure, you could go a la carte, but if you bundle these services together, it's more cost efficient. And from a productivity standpoint, it's really going to help the business grow much faster. And I will tell you, that resonates and has made a difference even through today. Today, just as an example, I was sitting there doing work. All of a sudden, I get a little ding. It's like, oh, somebody bought a package, and I didn't even have to talk to them yet. I mean, I will obviously have to, but like, it's like, and then somebody else sent in their authorization forms, and that's 2 packages in one day that have required pretty much nothing from me up to this point, right?
Yes.
And so those bundle packages have been absolutely pivotal to our continued growth and how we continue hitting that, breaking that 6-figure revenue mark every single year. And I've been doing that now for, over a decade. That's huge, right?
Yes, it's wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So you've talked about family and flexibility. What would you say has having your own business made possible for you in your life?
Definitely being more flexible as a parent. And I do hear children in the background, and they're not my children. So that's a good thing.
A cat. It's a cat. I forgot to put it in the garage before we started.
Oh, that's just life, isn't it? It has allowed me to be flexible in ways that I never would have dreamed possible. And now there you go. Hello.
Gotta keep it quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It has allowed me to be, to the extent possible, everything that I wanted to be in terms of working really hard and making a really big difference in the career and the lives of others, as well as showing up for my children and being very present in their lives. And what I have told a lot of entrepreneurs in the past, whether they are in the career advisory space or not, you have at best 3 areas that you can focus on and do well. And this has been very true for me. This was advice that I got many years ago, and I've carried it through to this day. 3 areas of life that you can focus on and focus on well, especially as an entrepreneur. And for me, that, and this is in no particular order, they're all very equal. Running the business and being there for the clients, the team, and just the general operations of the business. Being there for my family, and then being there for myself and just making sure that I'm taking care of myself emotionally and physically and all of that. And that means as an entrepreneur, there is a lot that I say no to, that I know I cannot do, that I just have limitations on at this point in my life. And I always feel bad saying no because I like to say yes to everything. But I know that it's better for every part of my life if I focus on those 3 things: business, family, and personally myself too.
That's perfect. Yes. I think I can't remember who it was. My husband was listening to probably videos on Instagram or Facebook at one point. A pivotal moment for me many years ago, maybe 2009, where the guy said, you can't expect to make, these aren't his numbers that he used, but let's just say you can't make $1,000 an hour if you do the $15 jobs.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, you can apply that to so many different, approaches here, and that, you're not going to magically get life balance if you say yes to everything. If you're trying to be all things to all people, and you've got to prioritize. I love that, your 3 big things. That's so true.
Yep.
Right. Before we go any further, Amanda asked, when you were talking about those packages that you bundle, she says, where do you market the bundled packages? Only on your website, or is that where they're finding them?
They are on the website. And then the way that we worked, and so whoever bought that package today just found it directly from the website. Like, they went on it, they found it, there's an e-commerce side of it, and they went ahead and bought that. All right. So that does happen. The other spot where we market it is, a lot of times clients come to us, through our contact us page, or they connect with me on LinkedIn, or they got my contact info from somebody else, and we end up having an initial consultation. And so one of my team members runs that initial consultation most of the time. That is her sole job. And once we have the notes from that discussion, I follow up with, next steps. Like, great, it was great for Christine to speak with you. Here are my notes from the conversation. Here are some tailored options, next steps. And those bundle packages are typically in there. And I will tell you, about 85% of our clients will go for a bundle package, which, really is pretty amazing when you think about it. And so they are on the website, but they're also definitely part of the process of initial follow-up.
Yes. And anybody who's curious about this whole, packages, not packages, I have specifically linked to a series of video tips that are all under 10 minutes that relate around this subject about packaging, but also you'll sell most what you emphasize. I can't remember the exact title of the video. It would help if I did, but you'll recognize the name, because it really comes down to what you emphasize to clients and what you educate clients about is most often what they will pick. They're there because they need your help. And a lot of times, there's another video I'm sharing on stop selling what your clients ask for. Because if they knew exactly what they needed to do and what they needed, they wouldn't be, knocking on your virtual door. Sell what they need, which is most often not a one-off item. If you were in Career Industry Accelerator Club today, like Janine was, she heard me just like, we were talking packages. That was our training topic today. And just going on and on about the whole 99.9% of people need more than what they think they need.
And to that point, while a lot of clients will initially come to us for, oh, I heard, somebody landed a great job with the resume you did for them, or they were getting so much more traction on LinkedIn because of the content you guys wrote for them. And they're coming initially perhaps for those services. Once they realize we're doing career advisory, and that's very much in part of the whole package that they need. It's not just the documents. The documents are a part of your job search goals. It's a part of whatever you're navigating to, right? But it's how am I getting there? Who am I talking to? What does my network look like? How am I preparing for interviews? What about negotiations? All of a sudden they're saying, oh my God, I need so much more. And this team is going to be an amazing supportive resource for me.
Yes.
Like, take my money, basically.
Yeah. All about the education. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amanda, I'm not, okay. Amanda asks, also, did adding bundled packages reduce the number of clients moving forward with more expensive packages? I'm not sure if you mean.
So interestingly, at that time, and I've added packages since then, we only were doing things on an a la carte basis prior to me working with Laura and coming up with the idea of having these bundle packages. And what I saw, immediately, was that more clients were opting for the bundle packages. So it actually supercharged my revenue very quickly. And so I actually ended up adding more bundle packages in general. But then, and this was to the point Laura was making a few minutes ago, when you're selling the thing that they need and you're positioning it as such, people are like, yep, I definitely need that. Like, if once they hear there are different options, I as a client, I'm getting a tailored set of options for my particular needs. Then what they're hearing is, you understand what I'm looking for. You get what I need beyond what I even thought I was coming in with. I look forward to working with you. I see this as a worthy investment. And so for me, it was adding the bundle packages actually really increased revenue very quickly. But again, it's hearing out the clients initially with where they are, what the challenges, what their goals are, what the obstacles are that they're facing, tailoring the options to where they are in their career and what you're hearing. And then, of course, backing it all up with the support and the service. And so as you are getting into the role of doing all of those things, you will see that, first of all, the packages sell themselves. And second, as people feel, wow, this really is beyond my expectations of what I even thought I was going to get. And yes, I have all of this wonderful support, and I see this team as a resource for me. I'm going to tell everybody I know to work with them. And then what you end up getting is a lot of pre-sold clients, which is pretty common. Oh, I got your name from so-and-so. I want the exact same package you did for him because he landed a great job in 2 weeks. Now, we can't guarantee that. And I get asked all the time, exact same. No, I cannot guarantee you the exact same thing. There is most things out of my control. What I can guarantee you is that you will get wonderful support and documents, and we are here as a resource every step of the way. That's what I can guarantee you. And that's what helps people feel very ready to move forward.
Perfect. And I love that framework that you gave us a moment ago. All right, let me catch up with the chat real quick. Janine says, love it, to something we were saying about 5 minutes ago or so. Okay. She says she loved the Career Accelerator today. And then Amanda says, when I think of bundled materials that can be purchased without speaking to you, I think of pre-written items rather than materials that will be curated for them. Does that make sense? And then she says, I've also tripled my revenue by bundling packages, but do not currently offer pre-written materials people can purchase without speaking to me. This is the reason why I'm asking the question. Okay. So
yeah,
Emily, you want to give some clarity to that from your...
So I actually do not have any pre-written materials. We will once the book is ready and done and out, and it's sort of a book workbook form. But even that, it's pre-written in the sense that it takes people through the capitalized process, but nothing is actually Pre-written, it's just more of like, instead of paying the money to go through that process with us, and having that like us do it for you kind of thing, it's how can I do this myself with their support. So I actually don't have anything really pre-written. But I know that some people have had success with that. I think that that's another option for a lot of people to go with. And it depends on who your clients are, what you're offering for them, and what makes sense for your business.
Right. Yes. And Amanda, I can hear Janine laughing right now as I do this, because I did the same thing in Career Industry Accelerator Club today. But I want to point out that a great place to start, if you want done for you pre-written items to sell, give away, bundle, use as incentives, use as your freemium on your website to get people on your list, that one of CDI Association member benefits, and I can easily say this because Janine, Amanda, Emily are all members. If you're watching this and you're not, this is one of the unique perks of CDI, is that we do have this ever-growing library of what we call done-for-you white-labeled tip sheets, because they are written directly to the job seeker. They are best practices. And like I said, they are Word documents, so you can customize them, take stuff out, put stuff in, add your logo, add images, add your contact information, make them yours. And we have members that add several $100s to their packages to include these in them and don't require them to do anything. Our current list, step-by-step to creating a winning LinkedIn profile, creating and using one-page networking resumes plus samples of those resumes, tips for older job seekers, salary negotiation for job seekers, creating employment reference pages, how to successfully navigate the hidden job market, how to successfully leverage job boards in resume writing and job search strategy, job search networking strategy package, and client templates for resume targeted tailoring. So those are the current ones. We're about to put one out on LinkedIn for job search. Be sure to check those out. All right, Amanda says, okay, thanks. Have you felt compelled to add a recruiting service? If people need help with headhunting.
Was that a recruiting part of the business?
Yes.
Not at all. And so
Stop it.
The reason for that, honestly, is back to saying no to a lot of things, because I focus on what requires my time and energy. I think that it can be a really useful aspect of a career business, but for me, that is not an area that I have wanted to add, but I think it can be a really useful entity to do so. What I will do, and we're in the midst of actually doing this right now, is I will be more than happy to make introductions to people in my space, my network for clients. And so right now we have a client that we're working with who's a senior legal professional that I've connected to somebody for an in-house position. And honestly, I am just connecting people because I get great joy out of that. I do not expect to get any sort of financial benefit out of that, but quite often what that leads to is more happy people, with who are so prepared to give our name to literally everybody. And so it is an investment of time that typically pays for itself pretty fast. That being said, we do work with a lot of recruiters. So a lot of recruiters will say, I hate doing the resume piece for my clients. Please, for the love of God, take it off my hands. We're happy to do so. And so we actually have a lot of recruiters who will directly send clients to us. And again, this is pre-sold. They are very warm clients. They are ready to go. And it makes that process so much easier for the recruiters, these headhunters, because the documents are that they need to give to their clients who are on other companies at that point. It makes their candidates look so much stronger. It allows them to be placed faster. It benefits everybody. So while we don't have a formal recruiting arm, we do obviously work with a lot of recruiters. And then when people come to us and say, do you know recruiters for this space or that space? I will have already vetted people in the industry on the recruiting side. And I'll say, absolutely, let me connect you to so-and-so. And then it just goes from there.
Perfect. And let's see, in the chat we've got Janine says yes in response to the done for you tip sheets. Amanda says it's a racket, so much extra work, right?
Yeah.
And then she says, yes, that's what I do. Soft intros as well. Okay, that's so helpful. Thanks, Emily.
Sure.
Perfect. All right. All right. Emily, what's one thing you wish you had known when you first started your business, or if you were just starting your business today, what's one thing you would have done differently?
That's such a great question. I feel like if back then, I wish I had known how smart it was going to be to have a team earlier on, right? I think I waited a little too long to get that going. And then it was, it happened. I started bringing team members on, honestly, as I was pregnant with my first child, who is now 10 years old. And so it was sort of a lot all at once and totally fine. But I wish that I had the foresight to have the additional team structure earlier on. And I wish that I had thought to offload things earlier, as that has become a really critical piece of how this business has grown. To that point, right now, it is very rare that I actually write a resume. I did have to write one a few weeks ago just because it was the timing and, he needed it by Monday and, it just was what it was. And so I was happy to jump in and do it, but that's like a once a year thing. But at this point, the majority of my time is running the business, editing the documents, helping the team members, and the career advisory piece. And working on the book in the moments that I have, which I don't have a lot of. But that is the majority of my time. And I have to be very thoughtful how I spend that time. And there are moments where I miss the strategy of writing these documents. It is an art form, what we do. But it's, I can't do it all. And so every once in a while, if I can jump in, great, wonderful, keeps me on my toes. And reminds me of just how hard and complex our work is and how AI is not taking it over from us anytime soon.
Yeah. All right. So Amanda says, so it's tempting to just stay solo, but you wish you would have created a team earlier. I'm at that stage as well, just concerned to manage people. It does bring a new element to it.
It does. We have a very solid team, knock wood, a wonderful team of very, very talented writers. And one thing I will tell you is if you're thinking of expanding, have a very narrow profile of who is going to be the right kind of team writer for you. And what I mean by that is what is important about your philosophy of working with clients, and how do you want that replicated in your team members? And so one of the key things for me, and I'm just using this as an example, is not only do they have to be highly certified, which they are, and obviously really good at what they do, they have to be willing to speak with the clients. And that's a major aspect of what helps us, I think, really show up for our clients, that there is a measure of transparency. Every client works with me and a team writer, and we spell that out immediately. It's not, oh, you're working with Emily and I write all the resumes and I secretly farm it out. I don't do that. I do not play that game. It is, we build a team of support around you. You are going to speak with me and your writer. I am going to be editing all documents. We are working on this collaboratively. But that means that your writers have to be willing to do this in a collaborative fashion. Not all writers want to do that. Not all writers want to speak to the clients. And if that's important to you, make sure that those are the people you're working with. Also, make sure that you vet their work. As I definitely have had clients or writers try to tell me that whatever they sent me was their work, and they did not do a good enough job ensuring that the work that they sent me was not my work replicated, which I have actually had happen. Somebody sent me a resume that we had written and they try to pass it off as their own. Clearly they are not working for me. But obviously vet your writers and get to know them, and again, ensure that whatever is important as far as your philosophy of working with clients and running your business, they are understanding and that's part of their philosophy as well. I found that to be incredibly important.
Yes, and I'll add to that, and I will say that first off, I think that you can make whatever system you want to work. You can. Bleh, I know what I'm trying to say. I was the opposite when I had all those resume contracts as with the professional associations. I actually used ghostwriters because I wasn't ready to let go of a certain level of control. So what I did was I went out and I found Tory winners, and I found certified master resume writers through CDI. I didn't care if they had really established businesses. I was looking at a different, this is just showing you can have different perspectives that equally work. My whole spin was, what if you just had one project doing the part you love each week, or more if you could take them, just taking a project and working your magic. No client contact, no selling, no marketing. And I convinced some of the industry's highest profile writers to work for me. Of course, I also compensated them well. I gave them flexibility. I only wanted ones who already wrote the way I did. And then I had them ghost for me because I pulled out the information, but it was a lot more work for me.
Right.
I did color coding and spent time with the notes and what I wanted and whatnot. So I was still leaving so much of myself on the table.
Yeah.
And it's harder for writers to ghostwrite. It definitely is. Having that interview is an easier process, but as Emily was speaking to, and I think I am too, you do run into that challenge of, one thing Amanda has put in the comments is like, she knows the oil and gas industry, and trying to find people who do is difficult. So it's almost like you have to mentor and train. And some companies have even brought staff in that's paying them initially to learn. That's another possibility that's out there. But if somebody is already a super talented resume writer and they know how to interview and gather information, then it's probably an easier transition that they're going to be able to learn your industry specialty versus somebody who's just starting out. I mean, we all know, Emily and I were talking about it before we started recording, the number of people who are like, can I write for you? Who should not be in this industry at all. They just one day woke up and was like, I think I'll be a resume writer. So you've got to vet carefully, but it can be a very rewarding process. And I can't remember, was it 5 or 6 years that I had ghostwriters? I only had one issue. But it was because of the vetting and the training and the communication. The big issue, actually I had 2, but the other one was just my client's wife called me and was like, the first thing he said when he woke up in the hospital bed after his heart attack was, call Laura, And he still did the project. So.
Well, and I think you're right. I think there's absolutely different ways to go about this, and I think ghostwriters can work. Again, this was like part of my philosophy and how we said there's so many different ways to do that. And I kind of an interesting point of what you were saying, like when there are the occasional issues, you have to be able to collaboratively with your team member, be able to speak to that client and work through it. Because every once in a while, there is going to be the client who they're dealing with something else. And sometimes they project onto you as the writer, you as the business owner, and it's not the quality of the work because you're really good at what you do. It's something else and you're in their line of sight. And so it's a matter of, you got to back up your writer and work through challenges with the client. That is not always easy, but it is an important need. And so you hope that it's very, very, very rare, but just as a general aside, be prepared to back up your writer, which means vetting your writers and making sure if it's going to be a transparent team of support thing, but be prepared to work with the clients. And sometimes it is additional conversations that you wouldn't necessarily have expected to have and are not a normal part of your process to see it through. And if you're seeing red flags and it's just not going to work out, then end it where you can and run the other way. But for the most part, be prepared to really work with your team on finalizing projects.
That's great advice. Great advice. And just remember, Amanda and anyone else who's watching this, in support of what Emily just said, that the more hands are you on with somebody initially, the easier it's going to be. I think about like when we even onboard a client, many of you have heard me talk about how the more clear of parameters and structure you give them, the safer everyone feels, the less surprises, disappointments, whatnot transpire. So when you onboard a VA, a subcontractor, ghostwriter, client contact writer, whatever it is, it's always going to be more work in the short run because now you're having to get somebody else to learn your processes. My special favorite tip is anything you tell the first person you hire, especially a VA, you ask them to document it and update the document they've created and wherever you're sharing documents once a week, so that they're building a training manual for the next person you have to onboard. But it always is going to be that short period of worse before it gets better, but it's worthwhile. And I just wanted to also add that if I had continued with my resume writing and job and career coaching practice, if I had wanted to grow, I would have eventually had to move beyond the tight control ghostwriting because I had to be in the business quite a lot to make that possible. And I think that could have happened if it wasn't pre-VA and project manager days. And it was just, I couldn't see anything else. And I didn't have a coach yet at that time. Anyway, so important.
I love how you're like, looking back, here's how I would have coached myself through this.
Exactly. Darn it. Yeah, it's good. I've said it many times. It's like, that could have still been a huge, because that was a big business, that I walked away from to start CDI because I was just, saw something that would take me out of that. I just didn't see any different way. And I saw all this other need, which I've loved filling these last 19, 20 years. Anyway, let's move on. So Emily, for those who are considering a career in this field or who are struggling in their businesses right now, what are a few key pieces of advice you might share with them?
First of all, I definitely recommend getting your industry certifications. That is a way to distinguish yourself. And that, there are so many options for, within like CDI and whatnot for wonderful industry certifications, wonderful ways to distinguish yourself. Go for those award options that are out there as another way to distinguish yourself, because those help people understand you are good at what you do. That helps pre-sell people. That helps people understand you're an expert in the space, and it helps you stand out. So commit the time to that, as I really think that makes a key difference. Additionally, have a defined area of what distinguishes you. Some people define themselves by, I'm only going to work with those who are in finance. I'm only working with those in, healthcare. I'm only going to work with executives. So they're defining by sector, they're defining by level. For us, we are not defining by sector or level. We're defining by people who are ready to do the work, because this is a highly collaborative process. We look at this as, we're the expert writers and career advisors. You're the expert in you. We need to come together to make this work. So that is a defining feature. And we work that into our consultation. We have a free consultation that everybody goes through. And in that time, we make it very clear, you want to work with us. It's not, here's my information, I'm never going to talk to you again, magically make me better. It's, no, you're going to take a step back and you're going to understand what distinguishes you as a client, as a candidate for a job, and what's your record of excellence and what's your network. Like, we are making you work for what is the next phase of your career. And we're holding you accountable to what you should be doing anyway. So that's what distinguishes us, people who are ready to do this kind of work, regardless of the industry or the level. So for you, define what that means to you. If you're going to be focused on a few industries, levels, young professionals to mid-levels all the way up, or some other defining features such as what we have that noted out, because that's going to help you attract the right kind of client to you and to your business. And so it's self-selecting clients, those clients who do not wish to do the hard work for us. Well, they're not ready to reach the next level of their career. They're not ready for whatever's going on in their life, and that's okay. If they're also not ready to invest in the package options, we do try to make it very, very fair. We do. But if they're, I had a client not long ago who was saying, I'm not paying more than, $150 for a resume. And I'm like, I understand that's where you are in your career. We're here for you when you are ready. And I think the client expected me to be like, no, I'll take your money at 150. I will not. And so that's okay. People will self-select to work with you or not. Don't take it personally. So that is an absolute tip. Understand, have your profile set, who you're going to work with, have that noted. And if someone opts to not work with you, it's not about you. It really isn't. I think the third piece, as you are getting ready to, launch your business, you're struggling with how you're growing your business, take a look at your process and see where the pain points might be. What are you consistently hearing as, this is annoying, I don't like this, I'm not going past this point, like whatever it might be? Hear from your clients, hear what may not be working, and it might mean fine-tuning things along the way. I think that can sometimes be hard for entrepreneurs who have established a process and like, this is what I'm going to go with, and then for some reason it's not moving forward. Take that as a sign of you need to sort of rejigger some things and kind of rework some things. And that allows your process to be flexible and work within the industry. I think those are already 3 points. I'm happy to keep going. Let me know.
You have one more you want to share? Go for it.
I would say in conjunction with that, and this was obviously something you guys have heard along the way, be prepared to let go of some aspects of running the business in order to grow. You need to allow other people to take on aspects of the work that, yes, you can do it, but allow it to go towards other people who can be helpful so that you can further grow the business in a way that makes sense for you and allows your business to actually scale up. We talk about allowing our clients, how did they scale this project? How did they scale that initiative and revenue growth and this and that? You have to do the same for yourself. So find the things that you can actually let go of. That was such a critical aspect of my growth several years ago. That Laura herself really did help me to recognize and be comfortable with and put into place. And I think my business would not be where it is today if I had not had that opportunity to see that. And no, Laura did not pay me to say that. It's really true.
Thank you. That was a great ending point there. All right, going back to what we were talking about before I asked you about anything else or about the tip you had, Amanda said she's thinking through writing the higher level materials and bringing on writers to build resumes for entry-level clients. She says she has so many students from OU and Texas A&M who are low-hanging fruit in her industry. So thanks so much for your insights, ladies. Wonderful. Yes, great advice. All right, Emily, last question. Is there anything else you'd like our audience to know in terms of encouragement, lessons learned, final thoughts?
You are going to have days where you're like, I am crushing it. I'm just crushing it. And there are other days where you're like, I am being crushed. Oh my goodness. And this is normal. This is how business runs. And even for those of us who are been in the industry for a long time, right? There are still those days, and that's normal. And I think it's really important to have other people in your network, both who are within the industry and just other entrepreneurs in general, that you can go to and say, here's what I'm celebrating right now, as well as, oh my God, I need a hug.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, having that kind of support has been so integral for me, especially as I have grown this business and grown, a family and had, challenges along the way with business and then also just life, right? Mm-hmm. And so knowing that I had backup and support to celebrate and also, give me that virtual hug or a real one sometimes has really made a difference. And so if I can be helpful to others, and celebrating your wins and also giving you that virtual like hug and just being that cheerleader, obviously here to do it because that's so critical. But you're not in this alone. Don't be in this alone.
Right. Perfect. What a perfect capstone for this, because I mean, I want to stress to people, use the CDI Facebook group, show up to the CDI live events that are included in your membership if you're a member. If you're in the Career Industry Accelerator Club, put it on your calendar every month to show up. Janine showed up today. She's here with us as a viewer and participant, and she knows she got a private training session with me today. Now, it was on the pre-scheduled topic that she wanted to hear anyway, because I let Accelerator Club members pick the subjects. So luckily that was a win, but she had a one-on-one session because strangely she was the only person to show up today. But normally in these events, these member events, these Accelerator Club events, we have built them so strategically so that you get a one-on-one networking with a member you probably don't even know yet, that we're hearing. And I'm hearing this from my guests too on this live show, that they're ending up with virtual coffees that lead to partnerships, subcontracting relationships, referral relationships, and even Janine, they wrote a book, Brewing Success, that she published, that I think 2 or 3 other CDI members were authors in that book. And this all came from just showing up. And I'm sorry, being an entrepreneur, especially if you don't have a team like Emily does, can be very isolating. You spend your working hours by yourself. You don't have the camaraderie of the workplace, and that can remove some stresses too. Yeah. But it's wonderful to be able to laugh and be supported and know you're not alone in, this whole AI or what's happening with AI, or you have a slow month. Is that just your business? Is something changing? And when you get to go and just even ask in the Facebook community and like, anything weird for anybody else? And when you hear several people say it, you can all figure it out together, or you can at least breathe a sigh of relief, or you can know, no, this is just the season in my business. Because like my business as a private practitioner, I never had the same slow periods as anybody else. It was the weirdest thing. But yes, take advantage of those lifelines wherever you find them. I mean, maybe you don't find them in CDI and you've got them elsewhere, but it's so helpful. All right. That was good. That didn't spur any last thoughts, did it?
No, I think that was wonderful. I agree. And one last thing, actually, I will say, it can be lonely and isolating for sure to work, and have, even with a team, like my team is spread all over, right? So I will give my tip on this is when I can, to get out of this house and go work in a coffee shop or wherever, I find even just putting in headphones, but having the energy of other people around me has actually been wonderful. And if you go to the same places fairly consistently, people will say, is that a resume you're working on? Is that what you do? That looks really good. And I've actually gotten business out of that. So you never know.
That's great. Yeah, that makes sense. You're not the only person I've heard who does that, but I didn't think of doing it for that reason. Yeah, love it. Love it. All right. Great way to end. So everyone who's still here with us, please give a warm thank you to Emily in the chats. Love to see some of those as we wrap up here. Emily, this has been fabulous. Why don't you just hang out with me while I tell everybody about what's next and close the show. So listen, everybody, we are going to be posting a replay of this. If you are a member or you are on our email list, you will get a copy of that email tomorrow to go get the recording. Obviously, you're here, you're watching it. Why would you do that? Because of all the great tips we're going to share from Emily, and also all the resources. Many of them are free, some of them are members only, but lots of supporting resources on the tips and topics we discussed today. So watch for that. And if you are not on the list and you're not a member, all you have to do is go to careerdirectors.com, click on join, and put in your contact information in the wait list, and you will be added to the list. or you can go take the quiz. That's a different way. That's not the regular list. It'll get you the replays. It won't get you all the CDI info emails. All right, and if you are interested in learning more about working with me, there'll also be a link on that page about that, and I'll also just stick a URL up here. It's pretty simple, careerdirectors.com/shop/business consulting. Okay, next week is my last, not my last former client, but it's the last guest I have in this mini lineup of private consulting clients who are sharing their tips and strategies. So here I go again, tongue-tying myself. Mary Elizabeth Bradford is my next guest. She'll be joining us Wednesday at 3:45. She's a multi-certified and multi-award-winning executive resume writer and past executive recruiter. She's the founder of CEOResumeWriter.com, the premier online source for expertly designed executive resumes, LinkedIn profiles, and executive biographies for C-suite and board-level executives worldwide. Mary Elizabeth was one of my very first private consulting and coaching clients, and one who experienced almost immediate dramatic growth. I've literally known her since the beginning of CDI, and over the years, she has been a presenter for CDI conferences and webinars, and she has created CDI materials. From what I know of her success and the role I got to play in it when we worked together one-to-one, she's being incredibly modest when she says her claim to fame is that she has built a values-led company that has stood the test of time, with a small team of expert writers and coaches who truly care. She says they are able to help their executive clients all over the world with marketing collateral as well as with their outreach strategies. So be sure to mark your calendar for next Wednesday at 3:45 Eastern so you can join us. Facebook page, LinkedIn page, YouTube page. And just a heads up, I said this is my last consulting client in this lineup. This is also the temporary halt to the Entrepreneurial Startup and Success Secret series, because we're going to pivot starting June 5th. I have 4 weeks of former Tory Resume Writing Award winners, and not just one each week, but I have 3, maybe 2, depending on the week. I'm still lining this up, but I know I've got 3 the first week, and that one includes Marie Platt. So you're going to want to hear that one if you are a resume writer and looking for tips on improving your resumes, making them winner worthy. What is winner worthy besides, as Emily said earlier, another way to stand out and provide veracity to your prospect. It also means the better your resumes are, the more quickly successful your client can be, which creates a wonderful avalanche of success. Is that they tell 2 people who tell 2 people. So you will want to mark your calendar to show up for those if resume writing is in your purview or you would like it to be. All right. So from here, I just want to encourage everybody, go over to careerdirectors.com. Free stuff, a great page. If you're not a member yet and you want a taste test, there's a free page of resources. We actually have a testimonial on the page from a member who's now a member. At the time he wrote the testimonial, he built a 6-figure business just using the free resources alone, and said, if it's this good on the outside, I can't imagine what's on the inside. So he became a member. But there's a lot there. We'll give you a taste of what's on the inside, which is ridiculous for what we charge for it, less than you'll earn from one client each and every year. So make sure, careerdirectors.com, click on free stuff. We're there. And be sure to join the wait list so you can get emails and updates as we go. And with that, we've covered everything for today. Emily, you have been an amazing guest.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been wonderful.
Great advice. And to those of you who have joined us, let's see, we got a Janine says, good advice and reminders. Thank you, ladies. Wonderful conversation with good information. Yes, thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you next time. All right, fly higher.